Hi guys, welcome to our part one of our two-part series of Rousseau's Jungle. This is going to be a large-scale painting of a jungle from imagination. So you're going to want the reference images that I gave you. These are Henri Rousseau's paintings, and the tropical references are optional. If you have any kind of tropical thing in your house or leaves outside that are kind of tropical, you can take pictures or bring them in. It's up to you. The point is, Rousseau never left France. He never saw a jungle in his life, and he still came up with these giant tropical landscapes. So we're gonna have fun doing the same. You're going to want to cover your surface, get yourself a cup of water, your brushes, your canvas, it's the big one. You're gonna want paper and a pencil, a sketch pad is fine, and then your paper plate or your plastic palette, and then any paints that you have from any previous projects, plus the ones that are in your kit, and then paper towels. To start, I want you to sketch out all of your favorite plants that you see in these reference images or ones that you found around you. Any type of leaf inspiration that you wanted to draw, sketch it out first and just kind of doodle what you think you're going to put in your painting. It's allowed to be pretty unplanned, this one, because there's so much layering involved, and that's why this is a two-part project. But have fun when you're doodling. Think about what kind of, if you're going to put flowers or creatures in this jungle scene, this is the time to just kind of make those plans, sketch them out before you start to draw on your canvas. So I did not draw very much on my canvas except for where the tree line is in the background and how it separates from the sky. So when you look at different paintings of Rousseau's, there's not a lot of sky in the back. There's so many leaves everywhere, so many trees and foliage. So I felt like this was a very essential place to start in the back. So I just kind of created a shape where my background sky is, and the leaves that are kind of blocking the sky. This part is probably the best way to start with a painting like this, because we're going to be doing layer upon layer upon layer upon layer, and it's very fun. It just takes a while to do. So I'm focusing on those back leaves, and then I'm also going to figure out where my creatures are going, because I want to make sure that I don't miss that, because if I start doing these weird leaves and I don't know where my animals are, I could do it at the end. I could throw a bird in if I wanted to, but since I'm doing a panther, I decided to draw that in first. Okay, so once I had kind of my tree line figured out and I drew an outline of my creature, I got out my paints. Again, you can use any paints from previous projects. Just be very careful to spare as much paint as you can in your containers. Don't pour them all out at once, because we don't want these to dry out before we finish the project in these next 2 weeks. So just take out a little bit of paint, just what you need as you go. I filled in the sky with a cerulean blue, a sky blue mixed with white. After that, I decided to start with all of the leaves that are surrounding the sky, and I started with some very dark greens because I want it to kind of be like a silhouette. Everything that we put on in this first layer is going to have highlights on top of it, so you kind of want to start with darker colors. Going all the way around the sky, I filled it with my darkest greens, and I just kind of mixed them and changed the green as I went, just a little bit at a time. You guys, this whole part is about filling the whole canvas. Cover the whole thing in colors and kind of block in the leaves wherever you can. Part 2 is all about details. So right now it's just kind of like placeholders. Make placeholder like shapes of leaves wherever you think they're gonna go. I did a lot of different grasses of different colors because those were easy to do with the space. So you guys just, whatever you're painting, whatever colors you want to use for your plants, that's up to you. You guys can go for a lot of variety in your leaves too. If you look at Rousseau's paintings, he had a lot of variety of color in all of his different jungle scenes. So you just take your pick. Once I had the whole canvas covered, it really started to make everything else a breeze because now the background is there and all I have to do is just paint whatever leaves I want on top of it. So I started to have a lot of fun on the tree line, adding all the details that I wanted. And then I started to make my way forward a little bit. I didn't want to do all of my plants in this session. I was going to save some of them for later. My main goal for this whole session is just to cover the canvas and block in as well as I can. But since I did have a pretty good amount done pretty quickly, I went ahead and I started adding some detail leaves in the upper sky area, and they're really coming out pretty Rousseau-like. After I did a pretty good amount of work blocking in some leaves, then I started to work on my panther. For my panther, I took out a kind of reddish brown color and I mixed it with some white and some yellows, and I started to shade it a little bit with a brown that I had, just to kind of block in my panther. I'm probably going to put in more details later. I just wanted to make sure that the panther is filled out. So if you have a creature, you might want to fill in some of the creature at this point so that the whole canvas is covered in paint. We will definitely go into detail on these leaves in the next part, and it makes the whole landscape just come to life. So my main advice to you is just get a big variety of light greens, dark greens, try mixing them with blues, try mixing them with yellows, try mixing them with oranges, browns, all of it. Just try all these different greens and create as much variety as you can. Think about things in the background as darker and then things in the front as lighter. And that should probably help you as you're working. To clean up, I actually just sprayed my palette with some water. You can kind of flick some water onto yours and put it in a Ziploc bag, and it can stay wet for a pretty good amount of time, up to possibly a week. But I would rather you scoop your unused paint back into their containers and store them in a Ziploc bag. After you wash your brushes, you're good to go. I hope that this session worked out for you, and I'll see you in the next one in part 2.